There are quite a few animals in this story. There is un león, that's a lion. There is un águila, an eagle. There's una hormiga, a little ant. There's un venado, a deer, pero el venado está muerto. The deer is dead before the story even starts. There's un oso, that's a bear. And there's un muchacho. There's a boy. El muchacho es huérfano. He is an orphan. He had no father. He had no mother. He didn't even have any aunts or any uncles. He didn't even have any distant cousins who could help him in the world. So this boy had to go to work at a very young age. He went to work for a blacksmith, a person who makes things out of iron and steel. The man made him work very hard and paid him very little. So one time when the man was away from the blacksmith shop, the boy took a piece of steel and he made a long knife out of steel. He sharpened and sharpened that knife until it was so sharp it would cut through a block of oaken wood, just like it was butter. He put that knife in his belt and he started out down the road to find his own fortune. He had not been traveling very far when he came around a bend in the road, and up ahead he saw un león, a lion, un águila, an eagle, y una hormiga, an ant. They were shouting at the tops of their voices and making angry gestures back and forth. And nearby he could see un venado muerto, a dead deer. The boy called out to them. He said, "Animalitos, why are you so angry?" And the eagle flapped its wings and said, "This deer is mine. I spotted it from high in the sky and started chasing it." But the lion interrupted. The lion said, "You were able to do nothing to it. I ran it down and I caught it. That deer is mine." And then the little ant said, "No, it's mine. It's mine. Look, it's lying on top of my home. It's mine." The boy said, "Oh, I can settle this argument." He took out his sharp knife, he went to the deer, and he cut all of the soft meat away from the deer's bones. He gave it to the eagle. He said, "You don't have any teeth, but you can eat this soft meat, and that will make a good meal for you." And then he gave the big bones, with meat still clinging to them, to the lion. He said, "With your strong jaws and your sharp teeth, you can chew on these bones. That will make a fine meal for you." And then he gave all the small bones to the ant. He said, "You're so tiny, you can run around inside these bones. You'll find enough to make 2 or 3 suppers for you." The animals thanked the boy for settling their argument. And then he turned and he started down the road. But the lion called him back. The lion pulled out one of its claws and gave it to the boy. He told him, "If you ever find yourself wanting to be a lion, just say, 'Si yo fuera león,' and you will become a lion." The boy said, "Ooh, all I have to do is say that and I'll be a lion? Oh, but wait, how do I become a person again?" The lion told him, "Just say, 'Si yo fuera gente.'" And then the eagle pulled a feather from its wing. The eagle gave the feather to the boy and said, "If you want to be an eagle, say, 'Si yo fuera águila.' You will be an eagle. And then the ant broke a tiny feeler from its head. And the ant said, if you want to be an ant, say, si yo fuera hormiga, you'll be an ant. The boy thanked them and he went away down the road. He had not been traveling very far when he saw a group of evil-looking men coming up the road toward him on horseback. He could see guns and sharp swords bristling from their belts. He knew that it must be a band of robbers. He didn't know what to do. He couldn't run away. They were on horses and they could catch him. He looked around. There were no bushes. There were no big rocks to hide behind. He thought, oh, I would have to be really small to hide. And then he thought, I know what to do. And he said, si yo fuera hormiga. He turned into a tiny ant. The robbers rode right by without seeing him. When they were on down the road, he said, si yo fuera gente. And he turned into a person again. But one of the robbers happened to turn and look behind him. He saw the boy. He gave a shout, and they all came charging toward him on their horses. He knew he couldn't hide because they knew he was there. He couldn't fight them because they had guns and swords. He thought, I have to get away from here fast. He said, si yo fuera águila. He became an eagle and flew away. He flew higher and farther, and then he saw a castle below him on the top of a mountain. He flew down and landed on the castle wall. He saw that the castle belonged to a giant, and the giant was holding a princess prisoner in that castle. The giant was sleeping under a tree in the garden, and the princess was sitting under a different tree, weaving a cloth with threads of silver and gold. The boy flew down. He landed on a branch just above the princess's head. She saw him. She said, Giant, catch this eagle for me. The giant said, Oh, what do you want with that bird? She said, I'd like to keep it for a pet. After all, if you're going to hold me here as a prisoner forever, the least you could do is let me have a pet. The giant grumbled to himself, but he caught the eagle and put it in a cage. The princess kept the cage hanging beside her all day long as she worked on her weaving. She talked to the eagle. She told it how sad and lonely she was there in the giant's castle. And then when nighttime came and she went to her room to sleep, she took the eagle with her. The giant locked the door of the princess's room. He went down the hall to his own room, and the princess lay down on the bed and closed her eyes. And the boy said to himself, I'm going to get out of this cage. He said, Si yo fuera hormiga. He changed from an eagle into an ant, and he ran between the bars of the cage and then down to the floor. And then he said, Now I'll show the princess who I really am. He said, Si yo fuera gente. He became a person, and he walked over and he shook the princess's bed. She opened her eyes, and when she saw him, she was startled, and she cried out. The boy quickly said, Si yo fuera hormiga. He turned into an ant and ran back into the cage. He said, Si yo fuera águila. He became an eagle and poked his head under his wing and pretended he was asleep. The giant came running down the hall to the princess's room. He said to her, Why did you cry out? She had seen the boy turn into an ant and then into an eagle, and she knew he must have come there to help her. So she made up a story. She said, Oh, giant, I had a really bad dream. I dreamed that my father's armies came here and killed you. The giant said, "Oh, you dreamed that your father's armies killed me. Your father's armies could never harm me." The princess said, "I know, giant. You're so strong. What is the secret of your strength?" The giant's chest swelled with pride. He told her, "The secret of my strength is simple. But the world is full of fools. They will never discover it. It's inside a speckled egg. The egg is in the belly of a white dove. And the dove is in the belly of a black bear that lives in a green valley far away. All anyone would have to do is throw that egg against my forehead, and then my strength would be just like a natural man's." The princess said, "Oh, no one will ever learn that, will they, giant?" He laughed and said, "Never." And he went back to his room. But the boy had heard everything. The next day, when the princess was working on her weaving and the boy was hanging in the cage beside her, he said, "Si yo fuera hormiga." He became an ant and ran out of the cage and up onto the branch. And then he said, "Si yo fuera águila." He became an eagle and flew away. He flew and he flew until his wings were so tired he could hardly move them. And then he saw a green valley below him. He saw a huge black bear rambling through the thickets in that valley. No one seemed to live in that valley. But in the next valley to the east, he saw a small house. He flew over close to the house, and then he landed, and he said, "Si yo fuera gente." He became himself, and he went to the house. He asked if he could spend the night there. The people who lived in that house were very kind. They told him he could sleep in their stable as long as he wanted to, and they invited him to join them for dinner that evening. As they were eating their supper, the boy asked the people how they made a living in that valley. The man told him, "We have a flock of sheep. Our daughter takes them out to pasture in the morning, and she brings them back in the evening." The boy said he would take the sheep out the next day to repay them for their kindness. The man said that would be fine, but he warned the boy not to take the sheep into the next valley to the west. He said, "A fierce bear lives in that valley. We don't dare enter there." The next morning, the boy drove the sheep away from the house. When he brought them home in the evening, they were fat and very well fed. But the boy looked tired. He only ate a few bites of supper, and he stumbled off to the stable to sleep. But he told the people he would watch the sheep again the next day. The man said to his wife, "Where do you suppose the boy took our sheep, that they came home looking so healthy?" And she said, "And what do you think made him so tired?" And the man told their daughter, "Follow the boy tomorrow. See where he goes and what he does." The next morning, when the boy drove the sheep away from the house, the girl followed him. She watched and saw that he turned the sheep to the west and drove them into the forbidden valley. As she watched him from behind a bush, she saw a bear come charging out of the thickets. And then she saw the boy turn into a lion and run to meet the bear's charge. All day long the bear and the lion fought until they both fell to the ground, too tired to move. And then the bear looked at the lion and said, "If only I had a slab of ice to roll on, I would rise up and tear you into 1,000 pieces." And then the lion said to the bear, "If I had a sip of sweet wine and a kiss from a pretty girl, I would rise up and tear you into 2,000 pieces." And then the bear struggled back into the bushes. The lion turned back into the boy and started home with the sheep. The girl told her parents what she had seen, and her father said, "Follow the boy again tomorrow. Take along a cup and a flask of sweet wine." The next day the girl followed the boy. Again she saw the boy go toward the forbidden valley. She saw the bear come running from the thickets and charge toward the flock of sheep. She saw the boy become a lion and fight with the bear. They fell to the ground, and the bear said, "Si yo tuviera un planchón de hielo en que revolcarme, me levantaría y te rompería en 1,000 pedazos." The lion said, "Si yo tuviera un sorbito de vino dulce y un beso de una doncella, me levantaría y te rompería en 2,000 pedazos." That's when the girl came out of her hiding place. She ran over to the lion. She held its head on her lap. She filled the cup with sweet wine, and she gave him a sip of wine. And then she bent down and kissed the lion. The lion rose up and lashed out with its paw. The bear's belly was split wide open, and a dove came flying out. The lion turned into an eagle and flew after the dove. When the eagle caught the dove, an egg fell from it and landed right in the girl's lap. She held the egg up high, and the eagle came swooping down and snatched the egg from her fingers and flew away. The boy flew back to the giant's castle. He landed on the wall. As usual, the giant was sleeping under a tree, and the princess was weaving under another tree. The boy flew down to the ground. He said, "Si yo fuera gente." He became himself, and he walked over to the princess and handed her the egg. She jumped up and ran to the giant and threw the egg against his forehead. The giant roared and jumped to his feet. But already he was beginning to grow smaller. His hair began to turn gray. His skin began to wrinkle, until that mighty giant had become a little old man. The boy took the keys from the old man's belt and set the princess free. She wanted him to return with her to her father's palace, but the boy had a different plan in mind. He flew back to the valley where the kind people kept their sheep, and he married the girl who had helped him overcome the fierce bear. They lived happily together for many years, and never again did he turn into un león, ni tampoco un águila, ni una hormiga. He never became a lion or an eagle or an ant again, except when he was an old man, and then he would do it just to make his grandchildren laugh.